Welcome into Dom Time. Thanks for joining us tonight, and we'd really like you to get involved tonight and give us a call talking about Philadelphia Public Schools, both the short-term crisis and the long-term crisis. Where is the money? How do they have a shortfall of by some guesstimates, $304 million? The $50 million that Mayor Nutter and Darrell Clarke, the City Council President, have promised to open schools on September 9th, and the fight that goes on inside that, which is a long-term fight that's been going on for a while. Is it up to the taxpayers outside Philadelphia to more fully fund the Philadelphia Public Schools? Joining us tonight to break down those issues and a bunch of others around this are Brian C. Greenberg. Brian is a financial expert with 30 years of experience as an accountant. And Ron Whitehorn. Ron is a political activist and former Philadelphia public school teacher. Brian, I'll start with you and ask, all right, the $50 million that Mayor Nutter has come up with, Darrell Clarke has a different vision on this. What's wrong with the Nutter approach to just add that apparently against the sales tax revenue added to the city budget?
Well, it's the whole idea of stealing from tomorrow's revenues to pay for today's debts. And $50 million, when your debt is $300 million, obviously doesn't cut it. And that's not going to solve the problem. And he's just randomly straying to get anything that'll fix the problem.
So you would do what? What would you do? Because there's a short-term crisis is what the argument is.
Well, you got to look at the bigger picture. Philadelphia is failing as a city. Debt's running up $300 million. They have overall debts of $8 billion. So the city is not being managed properly. And what the city should be doing is they got to cut. They got to cut services that are non-essential. They should get rid of licenses and inspection. They should privatize where possible. And a pet project of mine is they should privatize, get rid of the Eastern State Prison, tear it down, develop that land. That'll provide jobs, that'll provide money to the city, and ultimately a stream of tax revenues for the town.
How about the Darrell Clarke? If you look at his proposal, which is essentially more entrepreneurial, not just adding to the debt, which is taking these school district properties, their value's dubious to me, a lot of these high schools, and then selling them to make the $50 million.
Well, last I saw, I didn't see that Four Seasons was ready to open it up in North Philadelphia to buy one of these abandoned high schools. That's nice that they want to sell them off, but it avoids the bigger picture, the bigger problem of the waste and the mismanagement that Philadelphia has been year in and year out.
All right, Ron, what do you think about this? First is short term, then we'll get to the long term part of what they've done to open the schools, bare bones, et cetera, crisis. What do you think of what they've done?
Well, I think the short-term problem is very serious, and the answer isn't really obvious. I would agree with Brian that adding to the debt is the last thing we want to see happen. On the other hand, and there's plenty of shared responsibility to go around in terms of why we're in this situation. But earlier, there were measures on the table in City Council like UNO tax reform, which would have canceled a big tax windfall for corporate landlords in the city, raised over $80 million for the school district. There were things that could have been done, and the buck was passed.
But more taxes. Why would we tax people
this
more
wasn't
and drive them
taxes.
out of the city? Well, what do you mean about corporate?
Well, under AVI, the Adjusted Value Initiative, the commercial properties got a huge tax windfall. Those big towers. Downtown Franklin Mills is getting a $15 million tax break this year. So what we were pushing for with protection for small businesses, but for those big corporate landlords to not get that tax windfall this year.
Why should they not get it, though? I mean, what do you know about that?
Well, the point is that you're saying, let's go after the big guys because they use their cronyism to get a political influence, get deals. That's fine, but let's go instead of wanting to go after the small businesses and reduce their burden. If businesses do not want to come to Philadelphia, nobody wants to come here because of the high tax burden, the high regulatory environment, and there's so many laws and taxes that are on the books that they're constantly dealing with them.
Guys, there's a business privilege tax. When you have a name that it's a privilege to do business in the city of Philadelphia, doesn't that show you where we are?
Yeah, but we're talking. We favored, I'm speaking the coalition I'm a part of, we favored an exemption for small businesses, and that was part of this legislation.
Why attack anybody with more of a tax?
Somebody's got to pay.
Why? Why not cut?
And how do we pay for needed social services? Comcast Comcast pays almost no taxes in the city. They got
I don't believe that.
$10. no property taxes. They got a they got a 10-year tax abatement when they built
because
that
they
tower.
create tremendous
they got
amount of jobs.
$54 million, 50 more in our. Well, you know, they're making record profits, Tom.
But they're creating jobs.
Well,
not?
they're creating jobs, but why not create?
Isn't that why they're headquartered in Philadelphia?
Why, to create jobs? They're headquartered.
No, because they're enticed to come into the city, and they're creating a tremendous amount.
Yeah,
of
and I
spin-offs.
think that's a problem when we have to like offer those kinds of enticements to get business.
But I would say
that
that Brian's right in this, though. They won't come to Philadelphia then. I mean, who would?
Well,
why would you come to Philadelphia?
You know,
And the small businessman is not coming. So I understand what you're saying because these big corporations are getting benefits. But I want to give the benefits to everybody, not just to Comcast. I want small business to have benefits too. And the way to do that is not by allowing this regulatory burden, this high tax environment to exist. Okay. And the way to get rid of that is by cutting. And you have to eliminate. We should privatize the trash removal. We should get rid of licenses and inspection. There's no reason for it.
Get rid of licenses.
Yes.
We just had a collapse.
Exactly. What they didn't do their job.
Because they didn't do their job.
Right. There's a
you
thousand
think if we contract that out, we're going to get
there's 1,000 lawyers on every corner waiting for you to commit to protect someone's rights.
But let's get back to the schools. The schools in Philadelphia have been chronically underfunded. They've been underfunded for years.
Well, no, wait a minute. Now, I had the head of the state budgetary on today on my radio show, Ron, and he said the Collier counties get about $1 billion a year in state aid. Last year, Philadelphia Public Schools from the state got $1.3 billion. That seems to be a sizable contribution.
The state is giving less money now than in 2009.
Well, we don't have the stimulus money.
Well, the stimulus, but the stimulus money is only part of it. The Philadelphia School District was cut. 60% of that was cut in state money that had nothing to do.
I don't believe that's accurate.
Well, that comes from a Republican counselor.
There is a recession going on, and there's a recession going on because of a high business and regulatory environment that's hurting the economy. So where's this money going to come from? That this money's drying up. Just like any business does, when they're struggling, they cut, they tighten their belt, they cut. No one has asked the city of Philadelphia to do that. Why not? Why don't they step forward?
We'll see if we get an answer to that. Let Ron respond next. We'll talk about long-term in Philadelphia. Where does the money come from? $304 million in debt. What do they do? How do they open schools in any kind of way that's a quality education? That's straight ahead in your phone calls on Dom Time.